Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the free-to-play cast brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things free-to-play related. I am your host, Mike Byrne, aka Magicman, and this is episode 316. We're recording on the 25th. You're watching it on the 25th. Yay! Because we're just so nervous about missing news anymore. But we've got League of Legends and Riot adding the S to games finally. We've got Blizzard still, doing its thing. And first look reviews. So let's introduce the hosts and get to it. Mr. Jason Winter, how are you, sir?
Yeah, I know we've got a lot to cover today, but I'm not intimidated by it because if I survived a roller coaster, I can survive anything.
How was it?
I felt like my entire insides were being like squished around.
So let's talk about that in just a second. Also on the line, Miss Quinlan Bowers. What's up, Q?
He's complaining about roller coasters, and I'm like, I just wish I could still ride them.
Yeah, so...
Oh, I wish I could too, because I probably shouldn't anymore.
Yeah, so we found out last week, behind the scenes here, Jason was going to an amusement park, I believe it was with your lady, right? Mm-hmm. And Jason has never, until then, ridden a roller coaster. Like, never. Which was mind-boggling to me. Mind-boggling. So was it just like a fear thing growing up? Were you not near amusement parks growing up? Like what?
Yeah, I wasn't near. I was in northern BFE, Minnesota, so we weren't anywhere near. Minneapolis had an amusement park, but that's like 6 hours away. Like I said, I haven't been to an amusement park proper since the Reagan administration. So that's how long it's been.
So it's not like you were ducking roller coasters your entire life. You just never really had a chance.
When I was 10, I was certainly scared of them. And I remember actually being at like a state fair when I was like 16 or so where there was one there. But even then I was like, didn't really want to try it then. But yeah, in my adult life, I've never been really even near a roller coaster. Been to Disneyland, but only like the restaurant shop area and didn't really have time to do rides or anything. So
craziness. I love roller coasters. Love them. And
yeah,
so,
I didn't scream while we were on it because I felt if I opened my mouth, like my entire guts would come out.
Oh, I never scream on roller coasters. I actually just close my eyes and let it take me away.
So Q, you're a fan of the coasters?
I am, well, or even those bungee slingshot things that they pull back and just.
Oh yeah.
Things too. Okay. The connection is way wonky.
Yeah, your connection's breaking down. You aren't lime green, but your connection's going a little wonky.
No, but you know what? It's raining. It's raining a lot here. Like we've hit the end of that hurricane into. We're just gonna storm a lot season. So
there we go. Well, Jason, congratulations. You're not gonna lose your guts like that. That's not generally how those things are built. Feel free on the next one to open your mouth. Let's get started.
There's no next one. There's no next one.
No. Oh. All right, then I guess we'll get started with the news. That makes me sad, Jason.
I was almost in physical pain doing that. I'm too old for this shit.
All right, so before the last week, no show, I was in Los Angeles. Speaking of, I did ride some roller coasters there at Disneyland. Was competing in some Final Fantasy trading card game stuff leading up to Nationals. Congrats to Sam Prime winning the National Championship there, and it's off to Worlds for our NA team next month. Good luck to them. I did win 120 days of free Final Fantasy 14 time, so that was kind of nice. Square Enix paying for my subscription for 4 months. That's all I had to do was pay for airfare, hotel, rental.
I was about to say all the cards you bought.
Right, yeah, that's all I had to do. And then they were like, here's $60 worth of game time, and I was like, yeah, all right. But it was a good time. So no show last week, but right before the end of the week last week, we got to our celebration from Riot Games of League of Legends' 10th anniversary. And while they had teased ahead of time that they did have some announcements ready and there were some things that they wanted to reveal, I don't think anybody was actually prepared for how much they revealed, Jason. This just kept going and going and going and going.
Yeah, I actually missed the announcement of the live stuff. They were doing a stream, and I kind of forgot about it that night. And then I looked at my Twitter, and it was like maybe 3/4 done, and just people going on like the whole thing, like, "Oh my god, this! Oh my god, that!" And I was like, "What? What did I miss?"
Yeah, it was pretty big. So not only was there like 10-year stuff for League of Legends, which of course we would expect, Q, but as the common joke on every website is right now, they're finally putting the S at the end of games, or earning the S at the end of games in Riot Games by putting out some new games in addition to League of Legends. And I think let's start with the one that applies to us here at MMO Bomb the most. And I think that's going to be the new collectible card game, Legends of Runeterra. So it is a League-inspired, free-to-play card game in the vein of a Magic the Gathering, a Hearthstone, an Artifact, something like that. Taking
Artifact.
You couldn't resist, could you?
No, I couldn't.
Taking place in the world of League of Legends. So expect a lot of crossover between the two. Using characters, the entire world, and all kinds of stuff. Now, we haven't actually played this yet. Riot Games is running these little, like, preview type beta things right now. They're going to head to beta later this year with a launch in 2020, an early access and a launch in 2020. So hopefully we'll have some like first look videos and things like that by the end of the year. But right now, none of us have had our hands on it. We've gone by a trailer, things that they've said to gather all this information for you. Jason, how's the game looking in your estimate off just the initial trailer? Like, is it something you're looking forward to? Does it look like it's going to be different enough but familiar enough? Like, what are all the marks the game's hitting for you?
The weird thing is, having played and sampled the many CCGs as I have, both digital and physical. Usually, I can watch like 10 seconds of some game sometime, and I can figure out what it's about and how it's going to work. And I really don't have that for this. Even with the videos that I've watched, just little bits here and there, there is some complexity to it. I haven't quite figured it. It's not just straight. I don't think it's straight like Hearthstone. Play a guy, get stuff, kill the other guy, so on. There's a little more to it than that. So I haven't really been able to get a great feel for the game itself. Most of what I've been seeing has been talking about the monetization of it, which we'll get to in a bit. But that seems to be, maybe that's just more what they're pushing now, because maybe the gameplay is sort of normal-ish, so that they're really focusing on what makes it different, that being the monetization.
Yeah, and we'll cover that in a second, because this is a key difference between Legends of Runeterra and some of the other CCGs out there. Q, initial impressions on Runeterra. I know generally you're not huge into the card games. You've dabbled here and there. Does it look different enough to entice you to maybe want to give it a whirl? I know if it was high res, you would, just because you're invested in their worlds. And I kind of think that's maybe where my question's going, is not being terribly invested in the League of Legends world. Does this appeal to you? Because their hope is that League fans are going to pick it up because it's related to League, and non-League fans are going to pick it up because it's a CCG, and try and bridge the gap and bring in a bunch of new players. That would presumably be people like you and I who aren't terribly invested in League of Legends. Does everything you've seen so far, make you want to pick it up at all?
Well, as far as the investment in the worlds, I mean, I'm not invested in World of Warcraft, but I played Hearthstone for, a decent while. So that doesn't really matter, I guess. But as far as like the game itself, yeah, I'd at least give it a whirl. But with most of these games, right, it's more or less until I get into it and actually start seeing how it works. I have no idea if I'm gonna, spend any real time in it. I do like kind of. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how it works out, but kind of how they plan on distributing cards and stuff like that versus how you do in other games seems kind of interesting and, worth looking at. Other than that, I mean, yeah, it's probably something that I would just dabble in and then forget about later because there's so many card games.
See, I love them. So they definitely have me. I know nothing like substantial about League of Legends lore and characters and the world. I never got invested in League of Legends enough. I just wasn't good enough at it and didn't have the time to become good, and realized that very quickly. So I just kind of shied away from it. But I am 100% on board for this. Let's talk monetization. You both have teased it a little bit. There is a huge FAQ for Legends of Runeterra available on the official game site. And you can... Did my camera freeze? Good.
Yeah.
Good,
Yeah, froze like a
sweet
couple minutes ago.
mother.
I was just waiting to have a chance to talk. I didn't want to interrupt you guys, but yeah.
Oh, my God.
How long has it been like that? I didn't even notice.
Since we started talking about Runeterra, I think. Just about.
Really? It's been that long? All right.
That's
There
much
we
better.
go. There we go.
There you go. Hey, all right.
All right. So, yeah, thanks for letting me know it was frozen.
Well, you didn't have a really derpy look on your face. If you would have, I would have just not said anything at all. Like, no, your camera's fine.
Thanks. So, as far as monetization goes, we do have two currencies. Should be pretty familiar to everybody. We have shards, which you're going to earn in-game, and then coins, the real money currency. No real surprises there. Where the surprises come in is that, according to the FAQ, this is going to be monetized a little differently than you would expect. And I think saying a little differently might be underselling exactly how different this is. Jason, we're not going to be buying packs of cards.
You're not going to be buying packs of cards with money, correct? Real money. You will never spend real money to get randomized cards. That's their big overarching thing. So
that's kind of the big, we aren't doing, quote, loot boxes disguised as a wrap of playing cards.
Yeah, that could be another way to put it as well. But yeah, you'll be able to buy packs, I believe, with the in-game currency. You can buy random stuff there. Weekly, you're going to get, this is the kind of the interesting thing, is weekly you're going to get a random group of stuff. I don't know if it's just packs or random cards. Some of them are going to be the wild cards, which we'll talk about in a bit. But you'll get that weekly based on how you played over the course of the week. I don't know if that's games played, games won, whatever. So that's an interesting kind of thing. Again, I always go back to this. I think back to good old Black Gold Online.
Oh, God.
If you remember that.
And that ridiculous, like, pay for what you've looted cash thing that they had going on.
It was, you got every hour, based on how you played the game, you got a loot thing. Now, you could play, I believe, you get 2 hours worth of it. You get 2 loot things, and you get, whatever out of that. And any more than that, you'd have to pay. But it still gives me that same notion of, you play for a certain period of time, and then you'll get the loot that you accumulated through all your gameplay, through whatever. So that's an interesting. That's just, again, the first thing I think of when I hear that, the weekly thing. But yeah, no cash spent for randomized loot, and wild cards, which are going to be also a thing. They'll let you get whatever card you want, basically.
Yeah. So the rather lengthy FAQ that I was mentioning earlier, I'm going to read 2 specific things from it. And Q, I want your take on these. So first off, here's how unlocking stuff works in Legends of Runeterra. And forgive me, this is a tad lengthy, but I want to get it all in here. As you play, you'll complete quests and earn experience to advance and automatically unlock new cards. Jason had already mentioned that. But which region you unlock first is totally up to you, meaning the region in the game world. You decide where your cards come from, and you can switch regions whenever you want, which makes assembling your dream deck a lot easier. Jason also mentioned this portion. Once a week, you'll also unlock chests from the vault. The vault levels up as you play and upgrades the chests inside, which increases the number of cards you get from each. Individually, both the cards and chests have a chance to upgrade into something even better, and at level 10 and above, you're guaranteed a champion. Sometimes you'll encounter wild cards that Jason just mentioned, which can be turned into any card you want, no guessing required. A limited number of additional wild cards are available in the store, which is replenished with a new stock each week. So if you think about that, they're limiting the number of cards you could actually just buy with cash on a weekly basis. We'll come back to that. That's the second thing I want to read you from the FAQ.
Right.
We know that sometimes you just want a guaranteed way to get specific cards, so instead of waiting for the right drop, you can unlock cards for your collection using the shards you've earned in-game or the wild cards you've acquired through play or purchase. Bottom line, in Legends of Runeterra, you will never pay for randomized packs, and you have a bunch of different ways to get the cards you actually want and build multiple decks for both casual duels and the competitive meta. When it comes to cosmetics, there are free base options that every player starts with, the Summoner's Rift board and the Poro Guardian. Stay tuned for more details on other ways to personalize your Legends of Runeterra experience in the future. that piece that I said, let's put a pin in and come back. Why are you limiting how much players can spend on cards? Their answer, it's a good question with a slightly complicated answer. The summary version is that we want to ensure you always have something you're looking forward to unlocking, and that you're constantly discovering new cards and strategies. Slowing down how quickly the entire set of cards can be unlocked is one method for helping us accomplish that goal. There's a lot more to it than that, so expect to see an article soon that dives deep into how card acquisition works in Legends of Runeterra. Q, your initial thoughts on that?
On the latter part or the entire thing?
Go for both.
Okay. I mean, it sounds pretty reasonable, right? It's again, it's one of those things that when you see it in practice, it might end up being completely different than what you think it is. But as far as the slowing things down, like I can kind of understand that, because part of the appeal of playing these games, right, is the getting new cards thing. I mean, there's an entire thing set up around people opening packs just to see what kind of cards they get and stuff like that. That's part of the fun of these games. So just being able to go in and be like, all right, I got all the cards I want at once. Now what do I do? Kind of deal. Plus, you really at that point don't have a reason to play if you've got all the cards at once, because you've already accomplished the getting the cards part. Like, so yeah, that actually all seems pretty reasonable to me. I'm a little curious about the I guess the leveling of the chest thing, but again, like you had mentioned, the whole paying to unlock things that you've already earned bit, like it almost sounds like that could be one of those things, but possibly isn't. So again, I think I just have to see it in action to be really sure how I feel about it.
Jason, the team did go and release an article a day or two later, going in detail with their progression system, talking about the quests, talking about the vault, the region rewards, the shards, the wild cards, and they did go back and kind of touch on, and I don't know if they count this as the in-depth article they were speaking about or not. Maybe we'll get another one. But they did have a whole section in that piece about, getting technical and extending the experience, and why they're doing that. And their thoughts are, let's say you have the option to unlock every card. In that total access scenario, you have a ton of stuff to experiment with, but there's no more discovering new cards. You've got the whole set already. Ironically, by having access to all the cards, the experimental time ends up being cut short, even for players who might not have that access. Once some players have unlocked everything and figured out how it fits together, the meta for everyone rapidly finds its final form and stays that way until something new comes along. Typically, in most card games, a new set, right? In theory, we could counter this effect by releasing new cards nonstop, but in practice, that's just impossible. Even if you don't care about the meta, once you have everything unlocked, there's not really progression anymore. Sure, you'll probably have a blast in the first few days as you try everything out, but with no new cards to discover and nothing to look forward to, the appeal fades fast. You don't have a reason to keep coming back, and likely won't until the next big release. I don't know, Jason. I like it in concept, but there's that other side that goes, you're just gating what I can do in this game to make sure I keep coming back, which by itself makes me maybe not want to come back, right? I mean, that could be a little bit of a double-edged sword in this scenario.
All right, well, what if there were no raid locks in Final Fantasy XIV? In a week, you get all your gear. Are you going to kind of keep playing?
Yeah, but I'm also doing a lot more. Fair point, but my counter would be that I'm also doing a hell of a lot more in Final Fantasy than just doing that weekly raid content on a daily or weekly basis, where this is,
well,
go in, play your card games, and that's it.
That's the exact point. What if the only thing 14 had was raids? That's all you can do. You get all your gear in a week, and now do you keep playing?
I
probably not.
Right, but by the same token, I probably wouldn't play it on any type of really consistent basis for the exact opposite reason. Because I feel like they're gating it unnecessarily just to kind of keep me on that fishing lure.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's interesting that
I'm not saying I don't like it, because I don't know yet, right?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm not totally convinced either. I don't dislike it, but it'll be interesting to see how it works in practice. I can remember when Hearthstone first came out, I looked at a lot of things they were doing, like how they would do, a lot of the random effects and so forth, sort of things, searching for your deck and sort of thing, all that sort of stuff. And I said to myself, this is cool. This is going beyond what physical card games can do. You can't really do that sort of thing a lot of the time in physical card games. Stealing cards from your opponent necessarily, and shuffling them into your deck. That sort of stuff just didn't work. But they adapted it for a digital realm because that's what they're working in. And now it seems like Riot is doing the same thing, taking concepts that don't really work in the physical world and adapting them for the digital world, but in terms of the monetization, in terms of card acquisition.
Yeah.
Because you can't limit how many card packs people are going to buy
Right.
in the real world. But if you're the digital supplier and you control the supply, you can sure as heck limit them as much as you want and make them get it in whatever way you want. Whereas other card games have just copied what physical games have done. Buy a pack, get 5 random cards, whatever, and do it 100 times if you like. So.
Yep, they finish off this article, Q, by saying getting rid of paying for random packs was just the start. They talked about, if you've read the whole thing, they talked about other things like cutting back on randomness in-game and things like that, as far as what did the team really like about card games as they were growing up until now, and what didn't they like, and let's try and build a game with all the things that we like and cast aside the things that we never liked, the random elements, the paying for random packs of cards, stuff like that. Getting rid of paying for random packs was just the start. Between shards and wild cards, the vault, and region rewards, there's a lot going on with progression in Legends of Runeterra. We don't know that it's going to work, but we believe it will. We're committed to seeing where this goes and communicating with you all along the way. Let's see if we can build a better card game together. I like that attitude, Q. I like that of, here's how we would address some of these things. We think it'll work, but we're not sure, and we're going to tell you that off the bat, so things could change. I really like that attitude. 100% the opposite direction from Artifact when they tried to do basically the same thing, right? Create a card game based on their popular MOBA, and they made catastrophically bad decisions, the first of which being not making it free to play. But I think that puts this in a little bit of a better spot, and I'm not... Q, this one just has a better light for me than Artifact did. Casting aside the whole I would have had to pay for Artifact anyway, being a drawback, set that aside. I just feel a little bit better about this game than I do Artifact, and I don't really have a reason to. I haven't gotten my hands on it yet, but I like what they're talking about, I like what they're thinking about, and I like their willingness to say, it may not work, and if it doesn't, we'll make some changes.
I think the big difference between Artifact and this is that Artifact played into the whole Steam making money off of random ass things like, shit that people are selling in their store, like the whole cross making money thing in Steam. That's really what they were trying to build on. They were trying to build a game on the idea that you could trade or sell your cards to somebody else and make some scratch from it. And that's not really something to build a game around. It's a neat concept and everybody loves money, but that's not what you build a game around. In this case, they're actually trying to go, okay, what did we and what did we not like about a game, about a game genre, and then take it and cobble it together. And it totally may not work because, some game genres are the way they are because even though you think, oh, I really hate this thing about it, it just doesn't work without it, right? Like
Yeah.
it's a feature. It's a feature that you may hate, but it is a feature of the genre. And when you take it away, it somehow breaks the system. And that may happen here, but at the same time, at least if they're honest and upfront about it and work with the players on figuring out what does and doesn't work, it could end up being fine, just not what they envision right now.
Yeah, we'll definitely be waiting to get our hands on it. I can't wait. I do want to try it out. I'm looking forward to it. I signed up and everything, and now I just, check my status. Not yet.
I still haven't recovered my Riot account yet. Trying.
I know we spent a lot of time on this one because it's the most applicable to us, but we would be remiss in not recapping the last few other items that Riot covered. First off, Project L got formally announced. We already knew about that one. That was the fighting game that the company, what was the company that they acquired?
They did Rising Thunder or whatever it was. I don't remember what their company was, but
Yeah,
yeah, whatever.
Yeah, Stonehearth.
Stone.
That was the game.
That sounds right.
That was the game,
Oh.
wasn't it?
Okay.
Radiant Entertainment. There it is.
Okay.
Radiant Entertainment. So we talked about that on a show a couple of months ago. So that's still coming out. It's a fighting game, and expect League of Legends cast to make up the characters on the roster. So if you've ever wanted to see your LoL heroes in a fighting game, you should be able to see that soon whenever they start going into beta. Then we have Project A, which is kind of obscure idea-ish right now as far as what they've released publicly. It's a tactical shooter, character-based tactical shooter. Don't believe this one has any ties to League of Legends characters from what we saw so far, right, Jason?
No, it doesn't.
Okay. Then we have, moving on to other mediums, we have Arcane, an animated series set in the League of Legends world, coming in 2020. We have the Wild Rift League of Legends. That's the MOBA or the mobile version of the MOBA with faster, more condensed matches. That should be coming in 2020 as well. And then League players on PC can look forward to the Rise of the Elements preseason with changes to Summoner's Rift map happening based on what elemental drakes are taken down. And then Teamfight Tactics will introduce seasonal sets and will be in iOS, Android devices with cross-platform play against PC, and that seems to be everything. That was a hell of a 10th anniversary announcement, Jason.
And I commend them for putting up little videos about all of it right afterwards so I could slap all those into the article. Good job, Riot.
Yeah, absolutely.
You get a bonus to Bob.
Absolutely. Go check it out. We'll be watching Legends of Runeterra for more, and we'll watch Project A and Project L. Did I get those right or wrong? I don't remember.
Yeah, right. Yeah, L is the
they're
fighting
right.
game. A is the shooter. Yep.
Yep. We presume that one or both will probably enter the realm of free-to-play, so we'll be keeping our eyes on all of it. And if you got your hands on Runeterra and you're allowed to say anything, I don't know if there's an NDA or not, let us know in the comments what you thought. But let's move on to some companies that aren't having great 10-year announcements and, in fact, haven't had a good announcement or headline in a few weeks. We brought you up to date on all the news blizzard a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago on the cast, and their banning of Hong Kong player or a Taiwanese player. I don't know if I shouldn't say that. I don't know if Blitzchung himself is Taiwanese. I just know the event was in Taiwan. That we'll go with that because that was more accurate. And some statements about Hong Kong and banning the casters and all that. It is our question of the week. We're going to get your feedback on it. But we did want to bring you all up to date because BlizzCon's a week away, and I think it's going to be a blast.
It's going to be on blast.
Do you think, Q, do you think they have open mic forum panel questions this year? Like, do you think they put a mic in the fucking aisle for anything this year?
Based on what happened last year and what's going on now, probably not. But they might just, decide that if they don't do it, people are going to be pissed. If they do it, people are going to be pissed. So,
yeah, like I can see them maybe doing pre-screened questions. And
yeah.
just
Good luck with that.
Right. It'll suck, but you submit your questions and then they'll put them on index cards and they'll be like, oh, Q from wherever asks blah blah blah. They don't have.
They're just not going to show the audience at all.
Right.
No.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
No. That may actually that would be.
Yeah. I mean
really
that would kind of
shit way to handle
suck,
it, but
it's really the only way I could see them still doing it, but still, maintaining whatever block on certain things said that they would like to maintain is submit your questions in advance, and the ones that say free Hong Kong, they're just, we're going to set that one aside. Stuff like that. So maybe that's the way they're going to do it. Updating you on Blitzchung, those penalties got reduced, Jason.
Yeah, he was originally going to be suspended from competitive play for a full year and had all his prize money from the current tournament he was in revoked. But they went ahead and cut that in half. Only 6 months now. He got his prize money back. And the casters who did the interview also got their suspensions cut from 12 months to 6.
They were flat out banned.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You're right.
Yeah, they were just flat out banned. We're done with them. They were basically fired. Now they got 6 months. So that'll be interesting. Now, I don't know. Like, to me, Jason, did this do anything? Like, this felt like a happy compromise that wasn't happy or a compromise for either side.
No, it wasn't. The players are still going to be unhappy. I've seen still a lot of. It really hasn't. The people who actually play Blizzard games. I'm on the Hearthstone forums. I pay attention to Overwatch, not the forums, but the Reddit. I pay attention to Overwatch quite a lot. It hasn't really done much to mollify them at all, because there still is the notion of, especially J. Allen Brack's statement where he said, "Well, China had nothing. Our partnership in China had nothing to do with this."
Bullshit.
Yeah, bullshit.
Bullshit.
Complete bullshit.
And really, when you go through that statement, the only thing, which, by the way, was released after hours, like, we'll get to my bomb for the week when we get there. It was released after hours. We were sitting there waiting for it, and they, like, shoved it out last minute before they left the Blizzard offices type deal. Really, if you read through it, the only wrongdoing they actually, kind of acknowledged in any way was we reacted too fast. Not that the penalties were too stiff or that this was wrong or this was wrong or this was wrong. They just said the reaction was too quick. We should have been a little more retrospective, thought about things, then reacted to it. I mean, that was really kind of... Q, it just reminds me of, like, when you hear somebody say, well, I'm sorry you feel that way. No,
Yes.
That's not an apology.
Yeah, no, and the interesting thing is, and I have no idea how true this is. I just saw people on Twitter that apparently speak both Chinese and English discussing it and making points about how the sentence structure and everything feels like a little bit like translated Chinese. So basically, the theory for a lot of people is this was just written to them, handed to them, and they signed off on it and pushed it out. And that was the end.
I don't know. That's a bit...
If you've read that thread, though, it is really good how he talks about how the verbiage and the use of certain tenses is more appropriate. I kind of can see that theory.
I don't know. I think that's a little too conspiracy theory for my taste. Not saying it's false or anything.
Well, that's the reason why I said I don't know if it's true or not, because I obviously do not speak any version of Chinese and have no idea. And when I was reading it, it read fairly normally to me. So, I mean, businessy structure, which is always a really annoying thing to read in the first place. But, like I said, that's just a theory going around a lot among some of the players as is at this point. And people are still not happy.
Nope.
If you go,
because it kind of got worse. It kind of got worse.
Oh, yeah.
Because then during the Hearthstone Collegiate Championships, the team from American University went ahead and flashed a pro Hong Kong sign on camera. Addendum here, this sign also said boycott Blizzard, which I think kind of pushes this into a different realm of, what Blizzard should do. And, is it just a freedom of speech thing at that point or a human rights thing? No, because now you're actively saying on Blizzard's streams to boycott said company. That kind of, I wish that wouldn't have been there, because that put some gray on the situation that I don't think needed to be there. But, Blizzard's reaction was to go ahead and just cut all interviews from the Collegiate Championships. Excuse me. I'm getting over a cold. Yeah, getting over a cold. Now I may be dying.
Okay. Go ride a roller coaster. That'll kill you faster.
Can we have your stuff?
No, I just had to mute myself real quick. No, you can't have my stuff. Jason, I don't know. They just said, hey, we're going to axe all the interviews now from Collegiate Championships, which I kind of want to go, that was a really dumb thing to do, but I also kind of look at it business perspective wise and realize there is no good that can come out of interviews at this point. So let's just put this all on hiatus for now. I don't want to bang Blizzard up too much for this one, because I probably would have made the same choice after this event.
Where you can bang them up, though, is the fact that they did not instantly ban that university team.
No, they didn't.
They did to Blitzchung. So they quit. The university team actually just quit. And then a week later, got a letter from Blizzard saying, "Okay, now you've been."
Yeah, that's what we're going to
suspended for a
cover
time.
next. Is a little while later. The initial story we put up on October 15th, and then we put up a follow-up story, the 16th. So it took them 24 hours
Something
before
like
they announced that they were banned or anything. So to be fair, going back to what they said in their original thing that they reacted to fast, they didn't in this case.
that. No.
They did take a few days, and I don't quite recall
No.
the day they did the.
It was the day they did throw up the sign. The day after the team quit, they quit on their own because they weren't banned, and it was like a week later when they actually got a letter from Blizzard saying you guys have been suspended. So Blizzard didn't take action until even after Brack's statement on Blitzchung.
Oh, right, but we covered. No, that can't be right because we covered this. We covered
sign
them being banned on the 16th.
No, they quit on the 16th, I believe.
No, the headline: Blizzard bans college team for free Hong Kong boycott Blizz sign. Third link in the notes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they did react not on the spot like they did with Blitzchung. They did take a little while to eventually get them. And you know what? The team was I got to give them credit. They were really classy. They were like, "You were glad that they banned us. And we're glad because that means the punishment, is fair and equitable no matter who does it or what the message is." That was another point that they made, that the message wasn't the reason. If they had made the counter message, they wouldn't have been banned. And I don't
Yeah, that
know.
article was on the 16th. Brack put out his statement on the 11th. And the college team had actually done their thing like a day or two before. So.
Gotcha. So we were covering it a few days late because of the weekend. There we go. That's
No,
why
we weren't. They literally did not get the stuff until then.
No. I mean, we covered the initial banning, or the initial showing their thing on stream a few days late on Monday into Tuesday because we had the weekend.
Never mind. Don't worry about it, Mike.
I'm confused now. Fix it.
Yes, you are. You're confused.
I'm confused. Fix it.
Okay, so on like Tuesday, I think that was the 8th, was when Blitzchung did his thing. Wednesday the 9th.
Never mind. Okay. I am conflating the.
You're getting the weeks mixed up.
No, I'm conflating the team putting the thing on stream and Blizzard axing the interviews as the same day. The 15th was when they axed the interviews. The 16th was when they banned the players. Them showing their sign had happened the previous week.
Okay, maybe that was it.
There we go. Now I feel better. All right. Yeah. So all in all, just a mess. It's a
mess here, even a mess on the podcast.
Yeah, it's a mess even here. So much so that let's get the government involved.
Because that'll make it less messy.
And we don't have anything else going on at the moment.
Right. Yeah, there isn't anything important going on right now. So let's get 5 members of Congress to send a letter to Blizzard to reconsider the Hearthstone player suspension. This is after, by the way, I believe, maybe I'm wrong with my fucking dates here. This is after Blizzard had already reduced the Blitzchung suspension and refunded the prize money. Then they get a letter from Congress, and apparently this is the only thing our Congress can agree on right now.
Yeah, Democrats and Republicans both.
When you get Senator Marco Rubio, a Republican from Florida, and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Democrat from New York, to sign their name to the same letter, it better be earth-shattering, groundbreaking, bipartisan stuff like, Blizzard, you should reconsider that Hearthstone player suspension because you're catering to the Chinese government's growing appetite for pressuring American businesses to help stifle freedom of speech. How do you feel about this letter, Jason?
I feel like it was, like you say, they have better uses for their time. I mean,
there is one part of me that goes, Blizzard isn't the only company involved in this mess, right? And we have a list of companies that get Chinese pressure exerted on them, and they make certain statements that I personally don't think they should be making, don't like seeing them making. So on one hand, I'm glad that some members of Congress took some time to say, hey, come on, guys, seriously, freedom of speech, stop this. We know you're trying to make money there and stuff like that, but that is now being turned against you to stifle freedom of speech. on one side, I like that being pointed out. On the other side, to your point, there are better things to do right now than to be slapping Blizzard. How about we look at the whole U.S.-China relationship as a whole rather than tell companies? I don't know. I'm mixed on this one, Q.
So I don't follow sports ball a lot. Did the NBA get a letter?
I don't know.
I
if
don't
they
believe
got a
they
letter.
actually did. No.
No,
To their credit, their commissioner actually did sort of walk back some of the stuff. So
yeah.
he was a little better than he said he actually
I'm
stood
just
up to
thinking
China
if
a
you're
little bit.
sending out letters, for this, you need to send them out to everybody that does it, not
Sure,
just a
sure.
single company.
Yeah, that's my
Like,
thing.
at that point, then yes, you're standing up for freedom of speech, and against China taking control and all of this stuff. But you literally sent a letter to one company, and just within a short span of time, there were several companies or organizations involved in this kind of activity.
And
so
the list is really long right now. It was just 3 or 4 high-profile companies. As one, we won't read a list, but as one YouTube commenter pointed out that I did take part of what they put in the comments for the show today, but they did go ahead and give a list of a bunch of companies that have been involved in this type of stuff. It is big. So on one hand, like I said, I do like the sentiment of our Congress saying, guys, freedom of speech, don't let money stifle it, do the right thing. On the other hand, they didn't do it across the board. And there's hey, if this is the problem, I don't think it is. I think this is a symptom of our whole relationship with China that Congress actually has to be the one to address and fix, not individual businesses. I don't know. It's a mess. But, yeah, so we can get people to agree in Congress that Blitzchung's suspension should be looked at. Way to go. All right, let's finish up before we move over to the weekly bombs. Jason, you did a first look for Crusader Kings 2.
Crusader Kings 2.
Yep, 2, which is available on the site. First off, I guess we should cover that, yeah, it went free to play.
Yeah, the base game is now free to play, which is in anticipation of...
Isn't it? And one X-Pack, too, right?
Yeah, one X-Pack if you sign up for some stuff on their site. So you get emails from them and whatnot. But yeah, it's doing it because PDX Con, their big Paradox convention over the last weekend, they announced that. They also announced Crusader Kings 3 coming out in early next year. So that's the reason they want to make this one free now, is people get hooked by it and want to buy the new thing. So
you did a first look for it. It's a rather lengthy one, but that's the nature of this type of game. Not really much you can do with it.
Look, it's a 4X game. It's got the one more turn syndrome.
Oh, it definitely does. Very simulation heavy, strategy heavy, diplomacy heavy, all of that. Kind of if you enjoy Civilization and Age of Empires and this and this and this, and you want all of those, who to marry and all that, bring them on it. You got to have a reason to go to war, so it's very realistic. If you like history, it's got that in there too, following historical wars and battles. I would almost venture that for my taste, Jason, it's a little too much. Mm-hmm. It's a little too much. Not to say that I wouldn't enjoy it, but so here's my take before I let you go. And Q, you can chime in as well. I love strategy and simulation and historical-based games like this. I really do. I like Civilization. I like all that type of stuff. But I tend to fall asleep playing them. And that's not to say the game is boring. Like, you ever curl up with a good book and then the next thing you know, you're asleep, right? These games do that to me. Like, I'm going to go do this, and I got to go take over England, then I'm going to work my way up into Scotland, and I'm going to... I don't know what it is. It's just like that lulling effect. It's not... Destiny 2, jump and hop and shoot, and you got to pay attention and stuff. You can get, all right, I got to wait for a little while for chick to come over and marry me. So
actually, marriages happen instantly. I'm kind of surprised by that. I'm surprised there isn't a little bit of a travel time involved. But anyway.
But yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if I would put a lot of time into this. That's not to say that I don't like it. I do find a lot of the systems intriguing. A lot of the systems I just don't understand based on the first look yet. So this one's kind of like a near miss for me. I don't know if I would put too much time into it. Yeah, it's cool that it's free, but if I really wanted to put time into it, I'd probably just wait for Crusader Kings III at this point. So it's kind of a near miss for me. Q, where's this land for you? And then Jason, who you have a lot of experience, will finish up with you.
Yeah, this is not something that I would ever play.
Let's be clear here.
I was incredibly amused at Jason deciding to kill his sister so that he can start a war with the person he's married to. But I mean, you know, if you wrote a book based on whatever he did, I'd probably read it. But I no.
Yeah, that was pretty neat, Jason. When you were like, "Well, I got a pact. How do I break? Oh, he's married to my sister. All right, well, how do I break this pact? Well, I'm just going to assassinate my sister. That's what I'm going to do."
You got to do what you got to do.
I mean, it's very on brand for that time period. So.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Go ahead, Jason. I'll let you finish this one up.
You know, speaking of on brand, that's something I forgot to mention in the first look is all the different mods that exist for the game, which you can have various other worlds you can participate in. Like they have completely redone maps. Of course, one of them is a Game of Thrones mod.
Oh, of course.
So, because there's all sorts of assassination and sleeping around and whatever in that. There's another one for like feudal Japan. Another one that's like a post-apocalyptic America. Or so it's it's supposed to be like low technologies. That's why you can have knights and so forth running around and so on. But it's on a map of the United States basically. But yeah, there's all sorts of stuff out there. Lots of mods. Lots of just people doing all sorts of things. The Reddit can be pretty ugly when you look at how Reddit can be ugly, and first of all, it is ugly, and that there are some very unpleasant people involved in the game in terms of players. But also, just you read some of the topics, and you're like, "I had a child with the Pope. What do I do now?" Just take it out of context. But yeah, it is a lot of fun. It's just the mad variety of stuff you can do, like assassinating your sister to declare war on the king, all that sort of stuff. It's really cool. If you're into that kind of level of detail, and I referenced EVE Online as kind of an analog for it.
Yeah, you said Excel spreadsheet a few times, and initially I was like, meh, and then as you got like 30 minutes into the first look, I'm like, yeah, I kind of would probably be keeping track of a bunch of stuff on the side here.
Yeah, but it is on that level, and for me too. And I'll say too, because if you try the game out and you're having issues with it, first of all, play the tutorial. It actually does teach you pretty well. But if you are playing it for a while, I played it. I got like 7 or 8 hours in, and I posted to Twitter. I was like, this might be too much for me, because it's got that legendary kind of difficulty curve people talk about, like EVE. And after like 7 or 8 hours, I was just struggling, and then it just all started to click. It all started to flow together. Like I had that moment of zen or whatever, and I was like, oh, I can murder my sister to become the king. All right, yeah. And from then on,
that moment of zen. I can murder my sister. I don't think that.
That's another great Reddit headline. There you go. Yeah.
I don't think that those two concepts kind of
No.
I
understand completely where he's coming from.
Yeah, Jason, when I saw the announcement for this, I was like, oh, this is right up Jason's alley. This is absolutely his type of thing.
Got 500 hours in the thing, yeah.
This is absolutely his type of thing. So if you want to check it out, go for it. We got a first look. It's like 40 minutes or so long. Jason's teaching you how to murder your sisters. Let's slide over to the weekly bombs. Jason is not really teaching you how to murder your sisters. Do not take that out of context. Or
am I sleeping with the Pope?
Like the Reddits. So first off, I'm going to give I'm giving a dub bomb to in-game Halloween events. Halloween is my favorite holiday, so love seeing the events. But I'm going to give an A-bomb to companies trying to bury news after hours. This happens all the time, and I freaking hate it every time. I'm looking at you, Blizzard, with your almost after hours drop of a long post that really was just like, we're sorry you feel that way. And I'm looking at you too, Daybreak, because on that same night, you laid off a bunch of people and buried the shit out of that news too, and forced me to get back on the computer late in the evening trying to confirm with you some details. So don't do that. Stop it. Go ahead, Jason.
I'm going to give a dub bomb to Destiny 2, which I'm still playing, still liking.
Just wrote an article.
About it, but I'm just worried. I've been burned too many times by MMOs, or whatever, if you call it an MMO, whatever.
You're allowed to now. You're allowed to.
Okay, I'm allowed to. Oh, sorry, that's right. I've just been burned too many times by MMOs that I got into for a long time and then just realized that they were just pointless on some level. I know I'm going to get to that point with Destiny, so I'm just trying to enjoy it while I can, play as much as I can. And Mike, you're the more experienced player. What do you think?
I'm
Am
still
I going to burn out?
I'm still playing it.
Okay.
I'm still playing it. I took like a couple months hiatus in between Forsaken and Shadowkeep, but that was really it. So I was a little behind when New Light came out, and I think I talked about that on the cast. I got to catch up power ranks to do the first look.
I'm up to like 9:15.
I think I'm at 933 right now, I think.
Okay.
So good stuff. Q, go ahead.
You know, Jason, you might be like me where you're just not good with commitment.
Well, no,
so
he's killing his sister. So he's definitely not good with any type of commitments.
Well, I guess it depends on the type of commitment, because I think killing your sister does require a certain level of commitment.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it to Bomb to Gamer Twitter for actually being super chill about game delays. Like, I was looking at my Twitter, and I realized we've been going through this whole thing, and gamers have been really on board with the overworking your devs is a bad deal, but it's a little bit shocking to actually look at your Twitter feed and see a whole bunch of gamers going, no, it's cool. Do what you need to do. Just get it done right. Like, that's weird, guys. But I appreciate that everybody's finally doing it.
Weird.
I think we're finally accepting that we're at game overload. We just have too much stuff coming out that if something is delayed another 6 months, fine. I got like 12 games on my backlog.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, we got Death Stranding in 2 weeks.
From 10 years ago.
Got Outer Worlds today.
Yeah, Outer Worlds today, Death Stranding in 2 weeks. Luigi's Mansion 3 on Halloween. Yeah, buddy.
That's appropriate.
Mario. From the viewers, C-Swag says, and a day after this episode drops, Daybreak lays off more people. Ha ha ha. The big news just doesn't wait for you guys. It absolutely does not. Jason, go ahead.
But is Daybreak laying off people actually news?
Right.
It's like happens all the time. Pienemusta says it's weekly guessing game. Which camera internet problem Q has? But she was a little robotic there for a while there. So
Life is a game, guys. It's just the way it is.
Go ahead, Q.
Excel Kobayashi. Mike Z has been the game director for Guild Wars 2 since 2017. It's a suspected, Jesus Christ, why can't I say that word? That Mike O was probably managing work between all the projects that were going on at ArenaNet, Guild Wars 1, Guild Wars 2, and side projects. And that NCSoft had ArenaNet cancel those side projects when they did the layoffs. Without the side projects, Mike O and Mike Z's positions were probably somewhat redundant, and the side projects were probably a big part of Mike O's motivation. So I suspect that's why he left.
I could see that.
could be.
Yeah, I could see that.
Could be.
Bits Turn Bite says, I'm very surprised that you guys didn't bring up that Activision Blizzard has a huge investment now in China because of the mobile market. We did. We brought up the fact that they want Diablo Immortal to make sure it gets into that market. But maybe we could have elaborated some more. Fair enough. Activision Blizzard has been slowly shifting development to mobile. I believe their mobile titles are expected to exceed all other title revenues within the next few years. With new games like Mobile Modern Warfare, Diablo Immortal, and upcoming releases like Overwatch 2, most likely a mobile game, Activision Blizzard has to please the Chinese or potentially lose out on billions of dollars. I believe that when you look at the gaming industry as a whole, China's mobile market alone surpasses all of the North America market, PC, consoles, and mobile, in terms of revenue. I mean, we all know that mobile just crushes everything out there. And that's not even taking it to the next level that you did, Bits Turn, and looking at it on a per-country basis. So, fair point. Jason.
Well, I actually did look at it on a per-country basis. I looked at the last 10 quarters of Activision Blizzard's financials. 13.23% of their revenue has come from the Asia-Pacific region. Now, that's not a ton, and granted, as he says, it could still be going up, but it's not like it's a majority of anything, so...
Well, to be fair, Excel does say in the next few years it's expected to shift.
Or Bitsturn does.
Yeah. Bitsturn, sorry. Yeah, Excel was...
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It could represent bigger gains in the future, but... David Clinch says, cue the Incredible She-Hulk. She's green and she was kind of angry from it.
Go ahead, Q.
I wouldn't like it when she's angry.
No. Amiko-chan 13, question of the week. The rules were broken so Blizzard could ban, but they did nothing to the USA players that expressed solidarity with Hong Kong.
I'm going to assume that Amiko-chan posted before they did something, yeah.
It's the severity of the punishment targeting at a Hong Kong player that's really standing out here. And A-bomb to Blizzard, even though I'm still playing WoW Classic, so it's kind of meaningless. I can just pretend it's 2004 Blizzard while I'm in 2004 WoW.
There you go.
I don't think
do it.
I don't think boycotts work that way. I would like to pay this to 2004 Blizzard, please. Darkheart says, notice Q almost always has issues with something. Might want to start testing prior to stream. We do. We do. I swear, we do.
It's like an MMO that launches out all sorts of problems. Like, why didn't you guys beta test? We did.
Yeah, we did. Question of the week this week, two-part, or last week, the last show was a two-parter. Was Blizzard in the wrong to ban anyone over Hong Kong comments? And is the boycott of Blizzard the best response? Nasagra says, green skin and random Atari noises. Are we sure Q wasn't replaced by a 1980s alien? While I get why Blizzard responded the way they did from a purely business perspective and a desire to not have their events mired in politics at some point, an appeal for basic human rights should override those concerns. I'm glad they at least walked the punishment back a bit. I hope this serves as a bit of a warning to companies investors. If you're going to dance with the devil for some extra cash, don't be surprised if you find yourself getting toasty in HE double hockey sticks. I hope they don't turn down the heat too quickly, though, because I have a truckload of popcorn to pop in preparation for BlizzCon. P.S. While I am part of a North American with French while I am from a part of North America with French influence, it's the part that had just a big helping of gator meat, not the part covered in snow. I use HE double hockey sticks because it's just more fun to say. So, see, not Canadian, Jason.
Okay.
Go ahead, sir.
I'm not going to attempt like a Cajun accent. Fine.
Right.
Yamikami says, about the question of the week, as a U.S. Western-based company, I think it is not acceptable they enforce punishments on their own terms to silence people. I get that this happened in another country with different rules. And if China decides to come after Blitzchung, there's nothing we can do about it. And if China cuts the live stream or censors videos, that is also out of Blizzard's control. But that was not a China did something situation. It was a Blizzard did something situation. Decisions were made by Blizzard as far as I know. Interesting point I'm going to say here. We've all seen that tweet that was initially came out like right after.
Yeah.
That was in Chinese. It was very strongly worded. So my thought is now that it was someone in China who worked for Blizzard, some person from Blizzard China, who is very defensive of China and basically did all that stuff. And then probably JL and Bracken on their side, I got to clean this guy's mess up now. So
Possibly.
But also, he goes on, while I like the fact that more people got notice about the situation in Hong Kong through this incident, the general discussion / outcry evolves primarily around Blizzard, but less about the actual problem.
True.
Blitzchung did not want to raise awareness about Blizzard's wrongdoing, but about China's wrongdoings. But then again, we can't really hold China accountable, but we can hold our own companies accountable. So yeah, that is my opinion on this matter. Let me see here. My coffee mug says, made in Japan. All right. Excellent.
Boy, that was a blind luck. Go ahead, Q.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, so first, before addressing the alien thing, I am a Time Lord, not one of the lizard people from V, just so we all know.
So can you send money back to Blizzard in 2004?
You should, yeah. Take this. Send your checks to Q.
Yeah,
She'll make sure the right Blizzard gets your money.
Exactly. Now you're just okay. Anyway, Excel Kabayashi, I think Blizzard is clearly being greedy bootlickers here by putting profits over their own supposed values of freedom of expression. I think it's a little goofy that people are acting like this is a Blizzard problem. This is something that is epidemic, and as Q and South Park pointed out, many other companies are doing the same thing. It's not going to change until we accept a change of perspective.
Yes, and I can't read the entire list to you, but Excel Kobayashi did put on YouTube an entire list of a number of companies involved in this China quagmire, if you would like to see it. I think I misspelled that. I think it's supposed to be Frosty. Frosty, question of the week. Hell yeah to both. Can't wait for BlizzCon. Should be the thing of legends. I think there's a lot of us looking forward to see what happens. Go ahead, Jason.
Breckner Catalan says, imagine this. Blizzard says, no, China. We value freedom of speech. All Battle.net games are banned in China. Suddenly, millions of Chinese players come back from work to play WoW, Hearthstone, Overwatch, and are unable to log in. GG, all these players can't play anymore. Millions, I repeat, millions of players. How the hell is that a good decision for any company to make? Why would anyone want so many players to lose access to their games? Why is the internet full of brainless shills? That is kind of the bad part here. Is like if they do wind up screwing over or be pissing off China and getting kicked out, a lot of more or less innocent players are, going to have, well, they're going to go and play on, American accounts or Western servers somehow. So,
Well,
but yeah, it would kind of suck.
from a business perspective, 100% business perspective, I can totally understand that point. And why would I do something that's going to cost me millions of players, millions and billions of dollars?
Mm-hmm.
From the let's live on this planet together as decent organisms perspective, do you really let millions and millions and millions of dollars cause you to turn your eyes to human rights violations and potential atrocities? No.
Yeah.
Have
Have you ever looked at big companies? Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
I'm not saying it doesn't happen. That's not the point I'm making. But
Sure.
Go ahead, Q.
Richard Raffensperger, a lot of letters in one area. The punishment was overkill, and the firing of the casters shows it was just to keep China happy. South Park has been completely scrubbed from China because of their China censorship episode, Boycott the NBA. You got to give the boys at South Park a lot of freaking credit for the stuff they do when it comes to censorship.
And that episode could not have been better timed, by the way. I mean, that was fantastic.
Did they not do it in response to the NBA thing?
Well, they always do. Yeah, I think it was in response to the NBA. But then you had all these companies, like, after the episode air screwed up, which just made the timing of the episode even more extraordinarily awesome. Squeezy says, question of the week. Blizz was right in banning simply because their terms of service states every rule you have to follow. By utilizing their platform and services, you're agreeing to follow their rules. However, Blizzard being in the right doesn't mean that Blitzchung is in the wrong either. He knew what his actions meant, and that did not stop him from voicing his opinion, even with the possible backlash. To be honest, boycotting Blizzard's just plain dumb. What are you boycotting them for? Blizzard's act of banning the players simply stating that they do not wish to involve themselves in politics, and the company will remain as a game developer, providing services to whoever wishes to play. It is important to notice that Blizzard never released any statement showing support to either side, and they are... what are you doing, Q? They're only protecting their interests by not turning their platform into a political discussion forum. The only wrong move in this mess is the firing of the casters, the true victims. For future answers to this post, if Blitzchung did not consider the consequences of him stating his opinion on Blizzard's platform beforehand, then I doubt his motives. If you can't even analyze the pros and cons of something that was written in black and white, like BlizzCon's TOS, then how are you going to comment and express your support for something as intricate as politics? Yeah, Squeezy, I got everything that you were saying there until you got to the end. I have never once read a fucking terms of service in my entire life. And so, and in fact, I don't know how it is in other places of the world, but to a large extent, they have been deemed unenforceable in courts of law because of how extravagant, and the expectation is that no reasonable person would actually read all of this and agree to all this stuff. So that last point, I can't go with you on that one. The previous ones, I don't know. I think there is, I get your point on what are you boycotting them for? All they did was, we don't want politics as part of our stuff. Really? Then fine. Then fine. If that's the case, take away some of those company values that are on that statue outside, specifically talking about, freedom of expression and things like that. And then don't get involved in any of it.
Not only that, but when Overwatch League was running, they had Pride Week, Pride Month stuff all over the place. Rainbows everywhere. So,
it's messy, but thank you all for your take on it. Question of the week this week: does Legends of Runeterra appeal to you? Why or why not? What stops it from being another artifact? And don't say the fact that it's free to play. We all know that was dumb on artifacts. Give me different reasons than that. In the comments below. While you're there, make sure you give us your dub-bomb or A-bomb of the week, something good or bad in the world of gaming, or your questions for the panel. Until next week, Jason, where can everybody find you? That is not there. I can't even find you. There you are.
At Winter and Formal, streaming twitch.tv/Jason Winter.
Cute.
Hanging out on Twitter with Quinlan.
I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me personally right there on Twitter at magicman1. But more importantly, while you're there, follow at MMOBomb so you can get tweets for all the latest news, giveaways, interviews, first look videos, free-to-play casts, free-to-play weekly, and so much more. Including, in a little over a week, BlizzCon news. Until then, stay safe. We'll see you on the servers.